Linkin Park is set to hit the road as part of the Honda Civic tour with Incubus this summer, and they'll have a new album to support. Living Things is set for a June 26, 2012 release, and it's the follow-up to 1,000 Suns. The first single is Burn It Down, and it's racing up the charts. We asked Linkin Park vocalist Chester Bennington, with tour mate Brandon Boyd of Incubus sitting right next to him, if he thought that Living Things was a reaction to or against 1,000 Suns.
Well, it's interesting because I think, in our case, and this might be true for other artists as well, but people may think that the process of making an album is kind of premeditated, where you're sitting down and you go, okay, what kind of album are we going to make? What are we going to write about? How's it going to sound? And then you go, you kind of think of the finished product in your head, and then you try to go execute that. Quite the opposite is really essentially true for us. There's a process that happens that's natural and is unintentional and is very organic, but yet no one really knows where the song is going to end up. And a good example is if I walked into the studio with Burn It Down, for example, in its form right now, and it was the first time anybody else in the band had heard it, we would naturally, through the process of the creative process, we would change it.
Chester added that they're bringing a lot of the old flavor back to make the shows a little more up-tempo.
I think the only thing that we really tried to put into this album was something that Mike and I had talked about when we were touring, was let's write a bunch of songs that would be fun to play live and keep the energy up and be exciting for our fans to get into, which kind of inspired us to go back to some of the things that some of our earlier fans would be more familiar with, some of the things that we may have alienated them in some respects over the last couple albums with 1,000 Suns and with Minutes to Midnight. We've gone back to a couple of the stylistic things that people who got into us early in our career would be more familiar with, and we mixed those with some of the things that we've learned since we began working with Rick Rubin.
Linkin Park and Incubus are set to hit the road on the Honda Civic tour starting August 11th. The bands will play a slew of festivals in May and June leading up to the tour.